Okay. I call this meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. There is no signing of the attendance sheet, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes. I believe there are minutes from the 30th. The 28th.
I motion to approve the minutes from March 28th.
Okay, is there a second?
Or April 28th.
Okay. Can you all raise your hands for me to see who's voting yes? Still waiting. Oh, I see Kim. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Are there abstentions? Any no's? Okay, I'm confused because the votes add up to 8. So
I took my hand down. I'm sorry. I'm only voting yes.
Okay. So by a motion of 9-0, the motion passes, and the minutes from April 28th are approved. Okay. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda for tonight?
Would you please strike capital contingency and contingency programming? Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Can you strike SWC Programming Fund?
Can you strike bag?
Can you also strike travel grant, mini fund, and ASRF? And then I was also going to say, if I know a few of y'all haven't seen my message yet for like the COVID-19 academic working group, but if we can add like a quick discussion about that as well.
Could you strike the OCHC report, please?
Can we add a discussion item for the CARES Act?
For the CARES Act, is it discussion item or action item, Mullen?
A discussion item.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Can you strike ISR, please?
Can we strike SFS and then we can strike my officer report too?
Yeah, strike CAC as well.
You can strike FAC.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. There are no other items. Thank you, Kim, for doing all of that. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Can you all raise, and can you keep them up for a little bit because y'all know how I am about this. All in favor, can you please raise your hands? Some of you all take them down after 1 minute and then my counting gets even worse. I love your background, Mahika. Okay, please raise your hands. I'm gonna count now. So Kim, you can put your hand down. 1. Okay, by motion of 11-0, the motion passes and the agenda is approved for this week. Okay, we're going to move on into public comment. So hi everyone, public comment is the one time during council meeting for the public to address members of council about any items on the agenda or any other matters relevant to the student body. Each public commenter speak on time. If you would like to speak for public comment, please just raise your hand and we'll call on you in the order that I see it on the screen. So once again, this is the one time during our council meetings that we allow the public to speak. So please take part in this opportunity if you wish. So with that, I'll wait and see if anybody wants to raise their hand. I see Kia.
Yeah. Hi. Do I start?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. I'm Kaya. I'm a first-year Phi-Sci major, and I'm the Calpers Campus Relations Coordinator on the Affordable Textbooks Program. As you know, we're a statewide student organization that works to protect the environment, support basic needs, and get out the youth vote. We're running a campaign to make textbooks more affordable and accessible by encouraging implementation of a UC-wide open textbook grant program, similar to the one that we have here on campus called Affordable Course Materials Initiative and the Zero Textbooks Cost Program at the California Community Colleges. We're working on getting the regions to champion on open resources, especially with their commitment last year to open journals and research. We want them to extend this commitment to students and introduce a grant program to help UC professors who want to make the switch to open resources. COVID-19 has greatly affected accessibility for students, and we know that now it's even more important than ever for students to have affordable access to their education. So we actually have a really exciting update. The Cengage and McGraw merger has officially just been called off, which is great news. The student PIRGs as well as US PIRGs have been advocating against the merging of these two publishing companies since the start. So this is actually a huge win for us students because like with the merger being called off, these companies can't further monopolize the market and jack up textbook prices even more. This is great at preventing price hikes for the time being, but there's still a lot more work to be done. So we're going to keep organizing and building up that student power to make affordable textbooks a reality. Other than that, just good luck with elections.
Thank you. We'll go to Sithara.
Hi guys, I hope you are all doing well, staying safe, and passing your midterms and all that jazz. So I'm here to let you guys know that I am no longer the chair of Calpers at UCLA. We just had our elections and elected our new statewide board members, a couple of whom are on here as well to introduce themselves to you. But I just wanted to say to all of you guys, like, thank you so much for everything that you have done this year. It's really been like a pleasure to work with all of you and see everything that you've accomplished. And those of you guys who are graduating, and I won't get to see you graduate, I just want to say you're going to do amazing. Robert, you're going to kill it in law school. But yeah, thanks for everything you've done this year. And I really appreciate all that you've done to support Calpers and our advocacy and all that you're doing for students.
Thank you, Sithara. We all appreciate you, and we appreciate you showing up like every other council member to all of our council meetings all year long. It really shows your devotion. You've been an absolutely incredible chair of Calpers, you and the rest of your team as well. So I'm sure on behalf of the rest of council, we all really appreciate you and everything you've done for us too.
You're gonna
so
make
thank
me
you.
cry.
We appreciate it. We'll go on to our next favorite person from Calpers, Prab.
Oh, wait, that's so sweet. Hi, everyone. Prab from Calpers as well. I was the chapter secretary last year. I am now the incoming chapter chair. So just wanted to say hi as the official chapter chair. I'm still coordinating the Affordable Textbooks campaign. Really excited, a little nervous to take this torch from Sithara and just see what next year has in store for our chapter, student organizing, and for me as well. Really excited to work with the new board that's going to be coming in. And on behalf of the new board that isn't here right now, good luck with your midterms and with the elections for those of you who are running. I hope it's not too twisty out there. Y'all got this.
Thank you, Prab. Okay, next I see Haley.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also here with Calpers. My name is Haley Baez. I'm a second-year microbiology major, and I'm actually one of the new board members. So I'm specifically the campus relations director, and I am currently running the COVID-19 campaign that we're running as part of Calpers. And just to quickly highlight some of the work that we've done so far, we were previously working to build public pressure by collecting a number of petitions that were essentially urging ventilator manufacturer companies to release their repair information so that hospitals can have on hand. And we were actually successful. So that was like a major win for us. That's just like one of the highlights I wanted to mention. But other than that, I really look forward to working with USAC in the future and pushing both of our agendas and supporting one another in any which way that we can. Yeah.
Thank you, Haley. Congrats on you joining the board. And also, Prab, congrats for becoming the chair. That's super exciting. So thank you all again for being here. We appreciate you. Okay. Are there any other public commenters? I believe Navi's trying to join to give public comment. Oh, hi, Navi. You're there.
Yes.
I'm going to hand it off to you then.
Okay, cool. So as you all are probably aware, it's voting week, and the board asked me to come and share a message, particularly around advertising voter turnout. And they wanted me to say that, like, we have all noticed that a lot of council members and offices haven't posted about anything about the elections, and that we all have a collective responsibility to increase turnout. It doesn't reflect well on the entire institution of USAC when our voter turnout is as low as 16%, which is almost like half of our peer institutions. And a lot of you are publicly supporting campaigns and putting in a lot of energy to support other candidates. And we hope that you can direct some of that energy and time to also supporting the election as a whole. It's incredibly important. When I was appointed, USAC spoke at length about how collaboration is necessary. And so I'm reaching out to you to try to collaborate on this issue. We're going to be sending tonight, I'll send to the council email a bunch of graphics that you can use. If you want other graphics, let us know and we're happy to make them. But please, like, we are in a difficult situation because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we really need everybody, including the commissions, to help support the elections.
Thank you, Navi. Are there any other public commenters tonight? Please raise your hand. Okay, last call for public comment. Hi, Kim, sister. See you on the screen. Okay, then we will conclude public comment at 7:18 p.m. Okay, so moving on, we're skipping all of these funding bodies for this week, and we are going to move to AR. Oh, sorry.
TGIF.
Oh, no, I know. We're going all the way down to ARC Fund. So Kalechi first, and then we'll go to TGIF.
I struck ARC.
Oh, it's still there. Sorry. Okay. TGIF. Hi.
Hi, hello. So we had no applications this week, but we had some requests to adjust budgets. So we adjusted 3 former applications, upping the total amount of allocation to, we allocated this amount now. We allocated $23,125 distributed to the 3 previous applications, but no new applications this week.
Thank you, Lily, for your updates. We appreciate it. Okay. There are no special presentations this week. There are no appointments this week. So we're going to move right on into officer reports. So I'll go first. My officer report is somewhat long. So first of all, I just want to echo what Navi said is Navi does know the number of people that vote throughout the week. And I think if Navi is coming to council and telling us that he needs our help to publicize elections, I think that means that he needs our help to publicize elections. So some of you all have done this. Some of you all have not done this at all. I would encourage you all to use the resources that you all have and use the publicity that you all have to publicize elections. I know, Sithar, you've reached out to me, and I want to just really shout out you for being so willing to help us throughout this process and just engage in elections as well. So I appreciate you all. But to the council members, I also feel like it's also our responsibility to engage in our own elections and assist where we can in letting people know about our elections. So I just want to echo those sentiments. So I have a few announcements. So the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs emailed me and informed me that the UC Office of the President has lowered the voter threshold to 15% at the request of the chancellor. This just means that at least 15% of the student body has to vote for the referenda to take effect if they're passed by a majority vote. Other announcements today, we had a class of 2020 administrative task force meeting. So I don't know if I brought this up in the past, but I've been serving on the class of 2020 accomplishments task force, which is made up of Dean Turner, Dean Blandisi, a few other deans and administrators to really figure out how we're celebrating our class of 2020 and working with graduation as well. There is a separate graduation task force as well. So we've had semi-regular meetings on how to celebrate. This has gone from everything from graduations to last lectures, hashtags, filters, trying to really engage the student body and come up with a plan for the rest of the year. So just want to let you all know that that work's happening. I do want to shout out two people. First of all, Millen for being my representative and appointing Millen to the CARES Act Financial Aid Task Force. Millen, you've done incredible work on it. I think we all are really grateful for the work you've done on behalf of USAC. So thank you for continuing to serve in that capacity. The same thing with my appointment to the Academic Task Force, Naomi. Naomi has been in all of the meetings and has been super great at updating everybody. So thank you both for being really great leaders in regards of academics and finance, which is what you all came to council to serve with. So we appreciate it. What else? There will be bylaw changes that I'm going to present next week to clean up the OP bylaws before I leave office. There's just a few minor things that I'm like trying to get rid of / modify before I leave office. So be on the lookout for that. The MOU between USAC and ASUCLA for the CUB referenda is in its final drafting stages. We'll be having one final meeting with ASUCLA leadership at the end of this week before voting on the MOU at next council's meeting, depending on the results of the election, obviously. Signing of the Calpers contract. So Sithara, please correct anything I say, but essentially CalPERC has been working to lower their threshold for people to opt in to supporting CalPERC through their commitment, their pledge drive. Right now, their pledge drive is contingent upon them receiving 15% of the student body's pledge. The ask is that be lowered, I believe, to 10%. So I've been trying to put pressure on administration and the vice chancellor to approve that contract before we're out of office, since I do need to sign it, or the USAC president needs to sign it. So we are working on that. I support it being lowered, especially since it's an opt-in system where students choose to pledge. They're not mandated to in any sort of way. So it eases the burden for students who, as you all know, spend many of their hours out on Bruin Walk trying to get people to pledge to, I think, a really good cause. So that's happening. Planning of the chancellor's transition meeting with me and the next USAC president, whoever's elected to USAC president. We were successful in getting the chancellor to commit to having yet another quarterly meeting with me and the incoming president, which happens each year, to transition and to talk about what those meetings look like. So that's exciting. Finally, OP's quarterly report graphic is coming out next week to celebrate all that we've accomplished through winter quarter and spring quarter. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be like a cute little infographic that kind of says everything we've been working on, and then trying to publicize that to the student body. So sorry for the long officer report. That's it from me. I'll move on to IVP Kim.
I struck my officer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't have it pulled up. EVP, Joanna.
My only officer report is that our end of the year report is out now. So you can feel free to look through that if you would like to know what we did this year. Yeah.
Thank you, Joanna. Okay. Is Lalo here? I don't believe Lalo's here. So we'll move on to Gen Rep 2, Orion.
So regarding the budget analysis stuff, we have like 3 approaches that we are taking to make the budget more clear for students that we've been working on for quite some time now. One of them we just finished, and so we'll be trying to get that one out and get it publicized. It's a word cloud visualizer. So the way it works is that you see a word cloud of all the purchases that USAC has made. And you can click on any of the different words. And then, like let's say you click on food, then it'll show you another word cloud of all of the purchases related to food. And so you can keep doing that, and it'll show you all the way down to the individual expense items if you keep clicking. So hopefully we can get that up in public. And if you could all help with sharing that, that would be great. And then we hope to be able to combine the other two approaches with the word clouding technique. So the other two approaches are the machine learning and the administrative approach. So more about that later. But yeah, so kind of exciting. Yeah, and if you guys would be down to share, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Question. Are those like, do you have any plans to, I guess, do those for years beyond this one? Or is it only for this year? Is it for past years? Like what's in it?
So it would be for every single year. We have data going back for the past 10 years, I believe. So the one that's currently loaded up in the software is for last year, but it's not too much to load in all the rest of the data. So that should be coming soon as well.
Okay, thank you, Orion. Gen Rep 3, Brandon.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was having some trouble with my Zoom. We will be releasing a office end of the year report either by the end of this week or the start of next as we transition out. We have a last batch of Westwood businesses that have partnered with our office with the help of the Westwood Business Association to provide students discounts. We have about like 5 to 7 more that we'll be launching probably tomorrow. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Brandon. AAC, Naomi.
Hi, everyone. So, as Robert had mentioned earlier, as you all know, I sit on the task force, the future planning task force with all of administration discussing what next year is going to look like. And I also have the opportunity to sit on the subcommittees as well. We had our housing subcommittee and we talked a lot about what next year is going to look like. We played around with different models, whether or not things are going to be like single rooms or double rooms. And we've discussed a lot about what that is going to look like and possibly who will live on the hill or who will be able to have housing on the hill. There is nothing confirmed yet. So if you like hear stuff going around saying like, oh, like freshmen don't have housing or like I'm getting kicked off the hill, like that's not true. There hasn't been anything that has been decided yet. It's all still very conversational and models and like research and data driven as well. If you have any questions about that, you can let me know. And I'll see if the task force like will allow me to answer the questions or direct them to someone else, the spokesperson for the whole task force. But that's what we've been doing within the housing subcommittee. And then the larger committee has just been talking about like different models and how it's going to affect graduate students versus how it's going to affect undergrad students, and thinking whether or not depending on like Department of Health regulations and then of course the situation of what fall will look like, will it be like a bimodality? Like will we be doing Zoom and also in person? Are we still going to just stick to Zoom? Are there going to be aspects of the school that are going to be in person, such as possibly labs? I know they talked about like some of the performing arts schools as well. So those are the conversations that we're having too. And like I said, I don't think we'll have a decision about a lot of these things for a while. I think that the committee is purposely being very meticulous with how they go about this and don't want to spread any misinformation to students and also want to be careful to make sure that when we do update the student body, there's robust updates and robust information for how they're going to handle the situation. So like I said, if y'all have any questions, let me know too, and I can direct you all to the right people or answer them myself. And then in terms of what my office is doing, y'all will get an end of the year or wrap up of what we've been doing. My office is also transitioning right now and helping the incoming AAC transition, since she was running unopposed, and just helping transition like things such as USIE and building that relationship again, with also the help of Robert's appointment, Judy, as well. So yeah, we're just in a transition phase and finishing up just the last of our platforms as well. And all of my senators are still going to meetings as usual, and my senators will keep meeting with the academic senate until the year is over. So we're not going to have any transition until the new year, or until the academic term is over.
Great. Thank you so much, Naomi. We'll move on to CEC, Tara.
All right, so we've got a few things going this week. Let me make sure I have it all right. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're doing our concert live streams of smaller, more local artists. And then Wednesday and Sunday, we have our yoga classes that have been ongoing. And then on Saturday is our big event for the week, which is a Zoom cook-along with Anthony from Queer Eye, which blew up on Instagram. So we already have pretty good turnout looking for that. And we have like kind of the recipe up, and people can follow along and get the ingredients. And we're doing, I didn't anticipate this much traction, but we were starting off with $10, $25 Visa gift cards to help like pay for ingredients as like part of a giveaway. Might look to increase that, because it definitely seems like this is going to be a crowded but successful Zoom. And I believe going forward, we're going to have probably 2 more speakers events within this quarter. And I think those will be the remaining of our like large plans for the quarter. Oh, and then we closed our submissions for Short Takes Film Festival. We still got submissions of 40 films, which is pretty incredible considering that people can't go outside and film. People got creative and like made short films over Zoom. So we're interested to see how that's gonna look. Our web development team made like a platform for voting so students can interact with them and kind of see what their peers have been up to over the quarantine times. And I think that's about it for now.
Thank you. We'll go on to FSC, Millen.
Hi, I'm going to talk about the CARES Act a little bit later in the discussion item, but I want to talk about the COVID-19 relief fund. So we closed apps on Friday, and then we have, I think it's 1,875 applications. We only have, I think it was 130,000 from all the USAC offices, but admin like recently mentioned in my last meeting with them that they were going to match our contribution. So that'll hopefully put us over 200,000. I'm also considering bringing it down to 250 instead of 500. That way we can give more students that amount, and then that would allow us to give around 50% of the applicants that $500 or $250 award. And then Mahika, I got your message. Actually, I was just gonna respond to it, but I will send you, we're like in the process of reading. It's like very intense. Each reader has to read around 400 applications, but like as we go through it, I'll send you the list so that we can compare. And then Robert and I had a meeting with Jeff Roth, who's like one of the financial advisors, and then Greg Goldman, who's the other one, about tuition transparency for spring quarter of this year. So they're going to provide us with a comparison in like a pie chart of last year spring quarter's fees versus this year, and how administration is using like our tuitions in comparison between the two to show that a refund isn't necessarily like viable with all the costs. And then they're also going to provide a like pros and cons list of how admin is saving money and how admin is losing money through the pandemic and through spring quarter. So that'll probably be carried over to the next term, but hopefully that council can publicize whatever we get. So yeah.
Thank you, Millen. Okay, SWC Mahika.
Quick report from me, kind of similar to Millen. So we are, our application for COVID-19 relief also closed yesterday. So we're like combing through those applications right now. And we'll be like coordinating with Millen to make sure that if we do overlap at all in terms of people who are accepted, it's like the neediest, but we don't anticipate doing that just so that we can award the like most number of grants to the most people. Our basic needs subsidy, where like anyone can apply for up to $100, opened for phase 2, essentially just like another opportunity for people to apply, to take into account whether they've been, you know, disadvantaged in like the past couple of weeks versus like since the beginning of the pandemic, and like to take into account that the first time around marketing might not have reached as many people as possible. So yeah, I'll just be like sending a graphic for that, and it would be really great if you could share, because we're really trying to get every single person who like might possibly need this, who hasn't had the opportunity to look at it or like maybe fill it out last time it was open. So that'll be open till next Friday. Yeah, that's about it. It's the important stuff.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our transfer student representative.
Hello, everyone. My office put a lot of work into making all of these USAC election graphics. So if you don't have graphics that you want to use, you're welcome to repost ours. I do want to shout out KP, who like made all of the graphics, and then also Dina and Armin, who are on the media and marketing team, because like they have been working so hard and they deserve recognition for their work. And then I've begun working on my transition manifesto, just everything that I've learned this year and everything that I think is relevant for the next TSR to know, and things that I've tried this year that didn't work and things that I tried this year that did work. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Update from the Students with Dependents Task Force meeting this morning. I wasn't able to make it, but Zuleika, who is the non-traditional director in my office, went, and the academic affairs vote was postponed, but hopefully they will vote and tell us the results of that vote soon. That's it for me. Thank you.
I just wanted to say really quickly, the vote was postponed because of something else within the vote, like language other than what was actually what we were like. There were other changes that had to be made that were outside of the vote for students with dependents, so that's why it's been postponed. And we're also having a meeting. I totally forgot to say that. We're having another priority enrollment meeting. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. We will move on to our OCHC representative.
Oh, I don't really have anything new to report. So yeah, I actually had my report struck out, but
Oh,
Sorry, I probably forgot.
but that's
okay.
cool. Thank you.
You're good. You're good. Okay. One other thing too, before I go on to admin reps, is Navi just sent an email out saying that he's not going to take any action against people who post graphics just telling people to vote, which I already suspected that. I don't think you need to submit your graphics for approval so long as they're not part of like, and so long as they're not supporting a candidate or a campaign. So I would not worry too much about that. If your team's making graphics, I would just post them. I don't think there's going to be a consequence so long as they're not campaigning for anyone. Okay, we will move on to admin reps. So we'll start with Jessica.
Would that include referenda, Robert?
Not referenda. So referenda do still need to be approved.
Thank you.
No problem. Jessica?
No updates, just a reminder to fill out the doodle poll that I sent earlier if you all want to schedule one-on-one transition meetings with Fernando and I. And if anything comes up in the next couple weeks, let us know. We're here to support you.
Thank you. Fernando? Thank you. Okay. Where did I go? Sorry. Dr. Geller.
No updates this week, but please, in these last few days of voting, please try and remember to be respectful and to respect yourself. And that means getting sleep and taking care of your classes and all of those other things that keep you well.
Thank you, Dr. Geller. Okay. With that, I think we are done with reports. So we're going to move on to, there was no old business, so we'll move on to new business. So we're going to go through our series of bylaw changes. So Kim, I'll hand it off to you first.
Fernando, can you project the bylaw changes if that's cool? Yeah, but let me talk about it. So like one bylaw change is just like adding the Campus Safety Alliance vice chair to the list of the people who would have like voting power, and then it's just laying out what would be the necessary requirements to be an active voting member of Campus Safety Alliance, which is going to be to attend 3 meetings for the academic year. I mean, we usually have a minimum of 9 meetings for the year, so I think 3 is like, enough and reasonable. And then the other bylaw change is to have an election process for the Campus Safety Alliance representative to the Public Safety Advisory Council that my team and I, as well as Vice Chancellor Beck, have been working on for the past year and should be launched by the end of the year. Yeah, I wanted to have a codified election process for the CSA representative so that it's fair. No, that's for FAC. That's IVP one. Yeah. Go ahead, Isabel.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm looking at the right one too, right? It's Article V, Section F, number 2A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Fernando.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one adds like the bolded or the changes, like adds Campus Safety Alliance vice chairperson to the voting members. And then if you could scroll down, Fernando. Yeah, and then the B section is like to be an active, oh my God, to be an active voting member of Campus Safety Alliance, one shall attend at least 3 CSA meetings throughout the whole academic year. Does anyone have any questions?
So in the previous process, was that written in the bylaws that it was 9 meetings?
No. Oh, well, it just says that Campus Safety Alliance has to have at least 1 meeting per quarter, but then the past 2 years we've been meeting 3 times a quarter.
Is that like from the bylaws itself, or
yes,
is that just?
It's written on the bylaws. Yes, Section 7.
Wait, so would this be in contradiction with Section 7 then?
No. It just says you have Campus Safety Alliance meets at least once per quarter.
In Section 7?
Yeah.
Okay, and then wait. So where was the 9 meetings? Was that? Is this a is this a strikeout or?
No. 9. The 9 meetings is just like how many meetings we've been having per year for the past 2 years.
Okay. So before there was just no restriction on who could vote then?
Before there wasn't Campus Safety Alliance, to be clear, but then last year we made it so it was meeting frequently throughout the year, and there was also, like you said, in the bylaws there was no outline of who could vote and who could not vote. But that was because Campus Safety Alliance didn't exist.
Right. But didn't we have the change earlier in the year that the Campus Safety Alliance would be chosen by appointment?
So that's for the Campus Safety Alliance vice chairperson. But Campus Safety Alliance is like comprised or composed of many different representatives from different entities on campus, as well as student organizations.
Okay, and each organization chooses their own member to send to the...
Exactly.
Okay, is that in the bylaws as well, or?
Yes, that is, it's Roman numeral 12 right now on the voting members. So representatives from any campus affiliated cultural community, or there shall be one representative per organization.
Got you. And is the chair of the Campus Safety Alliance the IVP?
Yes, correct. And that's also written on my bylaws.
Someone have to motion to approve this?
Can we go over both changes first?
Okay, sorry. So, what? Okay, Kim, yeah, continue to go over the changes by all means.
Yeah, so can you pull up the second change, Fernando?
Okay, Isabel, can I go to you after Kim goes through her changes?
Yeah, that's fine. We can go through both because we do have some just like minor word changes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is like a new section 5. It says it's basically just like writing out the whole process for electing a Campus Safety Alliance representative to the new Public Safety Advisory Council. So for the election to take place, we hope to have like 6 active voting members to be present, and that for the election to be approved, it's going to be a simple majority of the active voting members that are present during the meeting.
Wait, so is PSAC new?
Yes.
And what's the difference in function between PSAC and Campus Safety Alliance?
So PSAC is like literally, so it's going to be chaired by the vice chancellor, the administrative vice chancellor, and it's more so like having power to go over like write policy, safety and security policies for the school throughout the whole year, and work closely with Vice Chancellor Beck, as well as like receiving different trainings on how to go over laws and whatnot.
Over laws?
Like laws, like
yeah.
Okay, and I'm just going to have to remind council members that there is an order for people asking questions. So I did tell Isabel to wait as well. So let's let Kim get through this. First of all, people should raise their hands. Second of all, let's let Kim finish, and then we'll move into a question and answer section. If everybody can just do that, please.
So yeah, does anyone else have questions?
Okay, so are people's hands raised? Let's see. Okay, so I saw Isabel has had her hand up for a while. So Isabel, go ahead.
I just wanted to go over the changes that CRC recommended for these. Starting with, we can start with this one since it's already up on the screen. We just wanted it to be changed to state exactly who can be elected to be the representative. My note doesn't make any sense to me anymore though. Lalo, Jonathan, do you remember what we meant by that?
Because it says that the Campus Safety Alliance shall elect a representative, but who does that representative, do they have to sit on CSA already? Can they be any UCLA student? Who are they?
Oh, I was gonna say it has to be an active member of Campus Safety Alliance for the year
Okay. So I
to
guess
be eligible.
just add like a section D in there or something.
Okay.
I think you have editing access probably. If you could add a section D that just says like, you know, the representative must be an active member.
Okay.
Campus Safety Alliance, that would be excellent. And then the other one. Fernando? Is he pulling up the FAQ ones? Wait, Fernando? Okay, cool. The issue was just with section B. We wanted it to change to say to maintain voting status and instead of to say to become an active voting member, because I think that language implies that someone through coming to three meetings could become a voting member instead of saying like these outlined individuals are voting members with this stipulation.
Okay, yeah, we can make that happen.
And that was all.
Okay, Naomi, then Lily.
I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about PSAC for those of you that had questions, especially because Kim and I were involved in the meetings with Vice Chancellor Michael Beck when we were talking about PSAC. To be clear, PSAC is definitely a different entity. And I think the main thing to highlight is that it's led by administration. Campus Safety Alliance is a student-led organization, student-run, and administrators come because we ask them to come. So the main difference between PSAC and Campus Safety Alliance is, like how Kim had said, Vice Chancellor Michael Beck chairs that committee, and that council is going to be the council in which he goes through like public safety, not even disputes, but talks about public safety issues within that forum, rather than coming to CSA, which doesn't happen as often. So this is going to be a lot more formalized and a lot in a way where students can represent like student issues and student concerns in public safety matters in an easier manner, if that makes sense. I don't know if that answers your question as well, Orion.
PCAC has also been so are we talking about Police Chiefs Advisory Council?
No, Public Safety Advisory Council.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I see it here. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I see Lily's hand.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say what Naomi said, kind of, and remind everyone that Michael Beck came to council to discuss PSAC during winter quarter, and this is a really huge achievement that something is actually being formalized. It resulted from a lot of our critiques and feedback regarding the security camera policies, the fire safety evacuation, and our critiques of COVID-19 handling. So this is really nice to see from administration, and I think it will streamline ways to address our concerns.
Okay. Anybody else want to raise their hand if there's a question or comment? Okay, Ryan.
So the reasoning for the 9 versus 3 meetings is just because in the past there was no stipulation.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's been the 3 per quarter has been working very well because there's so many things that goes on with campus safety and security. There's like something new like literally every single week, and it's important to have to at least discuss it with like you know student organizations as well as administration like every 3 weeks or
Right,
even more.
right. But this is only requiring 3 meetings throughout the entire year. Wait, so is this lowering the requirement then for people to become a voting member from 9?
There was never a requirement in the first place.
Okay. And normally, how did these votes happen? Wait, so is there just one student elected to PSAC?
So at least from Campus Safety Alliance, there's only one representative, but there's um
There's going to be
I
4 appointments, I believe, right?
yeah, there's one appointment. There will be one appointment from the Office of the President as well as other student org two other student organization representative that will go through a application process. We've been working out the details with Vice Chancellor Beck. I actually have a meeting with him on Thursday just to finish up the charter.
Okay. And so the selection process is happening at the end of the term. Is there a reason for that as compared with electing at the beginning of a term when the new IVP each year?
So it's specifically the end of the school year because one, the new internal vice president would have been elected already. And I also wanted to emphasize that this is not an internal vice president's office appointment. It's a Campus Safety Alliance appointment. The internal vice president just oversees Campus Safety Alliance, but it is ultimately the power of the student organizations and the other members to elect who will be the Campus Safety Alliance representative. And I think it's the end of the year because we wanted to know who are the active voting members and who would be eligible to run, and we did not want to appoint people in the first meeting of the academic year because PSAC starts during the summer.
Okay. Oh, last meeting of the academic year. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. I see Arsha's and Lily's hand, so we'll go to Lily and then Arsh.
Yeah, I just also wanted to clarify. We had a long conversation with Vice Chancellor Beck at the last Campus Safety Alliance meeting, and I specifically, alongside Kem and Naomi, emphasized the importance of getting PSAC up and running so we can help students transition back onto campus over summer and throughout fall quarter, maintain that, especially since it's a new committee. It's very important that they start laying groundwork before students actually start returning to campus. So that's why they're going to be starting over summer.
Arsh?
I just had 2 quick questions. In the past, has there been any sort of representation from the undergraduate body on PSAC? And secondly, would the CSA representative to PSAC have voting rights on it?
So PSAC again is new. As far as I know, there hasn't been something like this before. And yes, they would have voting power. I could drop the charter right now. It basically lays out which students are going to be there, what entity they would come from, and as well as what different administrators that will be there.
Okay. I see Orion's hand.
So just clarification. So this is getting implemented now because this is finalizing the process for creating this committee that's been going on for like the whole year?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay. Any last questions? Lily, I see you unmuted.
I motion to approve USA IVP bylaw changes
With
second.
with the amendments, right?
with amendments.
I second.
Okay. I heard Millen second, so everybody raise their hand if they're in favor. Please keep it up or I get confused. Okay. 1, 2. Okay, wait. Okay, by a motion of 12 to 0, the motion passes and the Campus Safety Alliance bylaw changes with amendments are approved. Thank you all. Okay, 1 second. Next on our agenda is the bylaw changes for FAC.
Yeah, hi everyone. They're pretty hefty, I know, but it's mostly just cleaning out a lot of things my predecessors left in there that no longer exist, and replacing them with the work that FAC does that does exist. So please read them carefully before you ask me questions. And Fernando, can you pull them up, please?
Also, please lower your hands if you're not asking questions, because
So I'll start by saying a majority of the changes are for FAC appointments. FAC appoints a lot of students to a lot of different things, but most specifically, the biggest change we made were to the TGIF appointments. For whatever reason, it said I only appoint one student to TGIF, which is wrong. And it does not correspond with TGIF guidelines. I actually appoint 5 students every year, or the facilities commissioner appoints 5 students every year to TGIF, and it's very, very important to do that and clarify it in the bylaws because undergraduate students have the majority vote. I also wanted to clarify the nomination and appointment process for TGIF because it's specified in the TGIF guidelines, but not in USAC bylaws, hence a lot of confusion when I was elected. So specifically, I appoint 2 at-large appointments, 2 appointments from the Student Sustainability Leadership Council, and 1 that is nominated by the Chief of Sustainability. And she specifically requested that she chooses between one of the appointments. I appoint to Campus Sustainability Committee because that's just what she's done in the past and what she's comfortable with and what she's familiar with. So we solidified it. Also, I'm excited to announce Jessica and I laid some groundwork, and we are going to start giving honorarium payments to our student members on TGIF, which is really important to me. It's important to pay your labor. It's important to pay students for the hard work they put into this funding body committee. Our hearings are really, really long and stressful, and just a lot. It's a lot. We get a lot of applicants, which is good, but we should pay our students that sit through 8-hour hearings. And then, yeah, so that's this one. This is all I changed here. And then I guess if you want to scroll down, there are more changes. Or maybe, is there another form?
Yeah, there's another one that's only part of. Sorry, Fernando. Jonathan, do you want to ask a question in the meantime, or?
I just forgot to put my hand down. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, here we go. More appointments. So I revised the SACBOG appointments because they don't match up with the charter of SACBOG, and it's really confusing and frustrating. And I don't want the new facilities commissioner to go through the same trials and tribulations that I went through, ultimately causing chaos. Anyway, I clarified it because the facilities commissioner is responsible for bringing these appointments forward. The specific committees, SIOC, CRC, and SAPOSA, they just send me a name and I just get it verified by council. So that's always been the case. That's what's written in the SACBOG charter. It just has gotten left out of FAC bylaws for whatever reason. Couldn't tell you. FAC bylaws were formerly a mess. I also striked the TSAB / Parking Task Force Advocacy Committee because Millen and I dissolved the Parking Task Force Advocacy Committee, but I never updated FAC bylaws until now. Also, just to clarify with the SACBOG, it's a little more than just sending me a name, but committees can send recommendations and ultimately FAC has the discretion. Just wanted to clarify that really quickly for anyone listening. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I struck out all the parking task force advocacy, all that good stuff. Keep scrolling, please. I struck 2 committees that, to my knowledge, have not existed in a very long time. And I added the Center for Accessible Education as a point of contact in the ADA 504 compliance officer to echo our recent improvements to accessibility within the Facilities Commission. Recent meaning the past 3 years. And then I also added SSLC, which is the Sustainable Student Leadership Council, Transfer Leadership Coalition, and Commuter Committee. That's what Millen and I discussed when we dissolved Parking Task Force Advocacy Committee. So yes, all of this looks good, great. And then here I clarify, down here, I'm using my cursor, but you guys can't see it. Facilities Commissioner serves as chair of TGIF because that was not formally noted in my bylaws, but it's in accordance with TGIF guidelines. You can keep scrolling. Cool. And then, oh, I think there's like a duplicate. Okay, it's okay. So thanks to CRC, love you guys. They helped me take out this little section, section D, which says I have jurisdiction over the computer lab, which no longer exists. That's actually ISR and TSR's office now. So goodbye, computer lab. Hello, TSR and ISR. I don't want jurisdiction over your offices. OSAC has that already. And then, so CRC actually edited my thing, my first D. So the second D is correct down here. To be in line with other commissions, I included our historical work and platforms that we've done, to my knowledge, for at least 4+ years to set that in stone. I'm done, I think.
Okay.
Oh, and these are events. These are events. Also in line with other commissions. also things that have been happening for the past 3 to 4 years.
Okay, just because I can't raise my hand, I'm gonna just ask a real quick clarifying question. Lily, just out of curiosity for the section D, I think you already mentioned this, but with the access on board, like Sustainagoals, Brew and Bazaar, Aussie, that sort of stuff, is that stuff that you're essentially trying to make into like a continuous like project kind of thing, which is fine. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, they're actually not well, they are projects, but each project has subcommittees. So that's kind of why we changed the name for one of the Sustainagoals to reusable dining materials on campus instead of Aussie. And I didn't include the subcommittees because I want the next facilities commissioner to have jurisdiction as long as it fits into disability access, space allocation, lighting, infrastructure, transportation, sustainability. And I'm happy to change those names if needed, but CRC did not recommend that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally up to you. I was just curious. So thank you for clarifying that. Okay, other questions for Lily? Anybody? Okay, then we'll move to.
Oh wait.
Oh yeah.
Wait, can we scroll down for a sec? Wait, stop. So there's two red sections that look almost identical, and they both say D. Those are both being added.
No, the first one was what I submitted. The second one is the recommendation from CRC. They recommended I change Aussie to
Right.
dining materials on campus so that council is not affiliated with a specific brand.
Right. And are bylaws usually, maybe this is a question for Dr. Geller, are bylaws usually supposed to go into this much detail?
I literally copied the format from CAC bylaws.
Okay. And then on the other document, it said something, you said there was 5 members, but it looked like 4 to me. If we go back over to the other one.
It says 2 at-large members, 2 from SSLC, and 1 from one of the 2 campus sustainability committee appointments will be selected by the chief of sustainability officer to serve. So that's 5.
So the red is selecting. Oh, so it's already in the black. It's already 5, but the red is choosing which one gets the honorarium.
No. So the red is the 2 I appoint. I mean, the red is okay. So according to TGIF guidelines, I get 2 appointments from SSLC through a nomination process, which I've already started for the next commissioner because SSLC only meets twice a quarter. And then I pick 2 at large, which I have not started obviously because the next commissioner will do that. And one is nominated by the chief sustainability officer, but she specifically requested that she is able to choose one of the 2 appointments I make to campus sustainability committee because I historically have always made 2 appointments to the campus sustainability committee, and she historically has chosen one of them to serve also on TGIF. But per TGIF guidelines, she is still required to nominate someone for TGIF. It is her preference that it comes from the campus sustainability committee appointments, which is why I added it.
Okay, and so this would take effect when the next facilities commissioner takes over?
Yes, and they all receive honorarium, all 5.
Okay.
And the reason it's honorarium, not stipend, is because we will be paying them through TGIF, and TGIF does not have the capacity to hire through HR.
Why is that?
Jessica, do you want to speak on that?
Sure. So the reason why it's just a little bit tricky for TGIF to stipend students is because TGIF committee is made up of students that are undergraduates, but also graduate students as well. And so just in keeping with the fairness of being able to pay student committee members for their time, we don't have the capability to hire a GSA student for stipend through TGIF. So it's just cleaner and easier to do an honorarium because then we can also pay the GSA appointment and not have to leave them out because they're not an undergraduate. Because TGIF is a unique funding source in that you do not need to be a registered student organization to apply. Anybody can apply to TGIF, and we also do not limit applications just to undergrad students. So that's just something that is unique to TGIF as a funding source.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Lily, just one last quick question for me. Sorry. Just with Project Lit, is that something, and this is just me probably not being in FAC ever, so I'm just trying to understand. So like facilities commissioners in the future will definitely, similar to like Bruin Bazaar, which has been around forever, they'll know what that is and everything.
Yeah, it's also written in all my transition documents. I have a 3-page document. But Project Lit is our lighting, infrastructure, and transportation initiative. It's a catch-all for large-scale infrastructure projects that don't have to do with disability access or sustainability.
Okay. This is totally just a suggestion. Is there a reason we didn't just like spell it out and then put it in parentheses just for clarity's sake?
Totally down to do that. I didn't think of it at the time, but like I'm fine with that. But like I said, it's all very clear in my transition documents. I'm happy to make those public if that is requested. Yeah.
You're totally good on my end. I was just getting clarification. Spelling it out might be useful though, but that's totally up to you.
Yeah, I think it would be useful too.
Okay. Okay. So, are there any other questions for Lily about these changes? Jessica, I still see your hands up.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted, just for clarity, Lily, if you don't mind, if you're gonna accept the CRC recommended change, can you just can you delete out the one that you put that has Aussie and just replace it with the CRC change, just so it's more clear for us when we go to update the bylaws?
Yeah. Do I have editing access to it? Let me see if I can edit it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh wait, this is Kim's. Also Kim's. Okay, I like literally keep opening up Kim's bylaw changes. What is wrong with me? I'll also add for clarification, all of these projects are formally laid out like very vaguely throughout fact bylaws. It our language is very outdated, but we have a bylaw requirement to serve these specific initiatives. I just wrote it out clearer and gave them names to consolidate it for the next commissioner, because ultimately they're required to do all of these things. Via the old bylaws, it just wasn't as clear as I'm making it now. Hello.
Hi. Okay. It seems like everything's been changed and updated. So, are there any other questions? Is there a motion? Don't see any hands. Anybody? Concerns, questions, motions?
Motion to approve fact bylaws with amendments.
Okay. John, motions.
I second.
Okay, I think that was Millen that seconded.
Yeah.
All in favor, raise your hand. I'm gonna wait a sec. Okay, please raise your hand. Okay, Kim, I'm assuming you're raising your hand. I can't find you.
I am raising my hand.
Oh, you are. Sorry, you're allowed to now. Okay, sorry. Okay, by a motion of 13 to 0 to wait, sorry. Yeah, 13 to 0 to 0. The motion passes and the bylaws for FAC are approved. Thank you, Lily. Okay, we will move on to our resolution. We will start with Isabel.
Hello, everyone. Does everyone have access to the resolution?
Could you was it sent to our emails?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I can send it out again in Messenger too, if that helps people.
And if possible, Fernando, could you screen share it so that anyone watching can see it and know what we're talking about? These meetings are so weird. I miss all of you guys.
We miss you too.
Thanks. It's just me and Robert in this meeting now. Hopefully you read it. If not, please take a minute to read it. Basically, this this resolution is the product of honestly like an entire year's worth of conversations that the Transfer Leadership Coalition and I have been having about the way the Daily Bruin talks about transfer students and the way that they're presented in the articles. And after the events of this weekend, we decided that, like, you know, we wanted to write something to really just like call awareness to how transfer students are represented in Daily Bruin articles and how like our work as transfer students is disrespected when it is not tied to UCLA. So I think Millie and /or Zuleika are here, and I'm gonna cede some time to them with permission from the chair. If they are here.
Absolutely, but I don't.
I don't think they're here. Let me text them and
Yeah.
tell them that we're on this part.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, Millie just let me. Yeah.
okay, I see that. I mean, whether or not they're able to join, the TLC does give its blessing on the resolution. And if any of you have any questions, comments, please.
Questions, comments, motions, concerns, supports.
One question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a portion? I agree with this completely, and I think it's very good to pass. But is there a portion where we can say, like, of like something to the extent of the Daily Bruin has the right to endorse who they want, but they should not make such judgments based on biased notions, like basically affirming their right to do it, but the reasoning for this endorsement was wrong. Because I don't want I think I don't want to give the perception that we're like just strictly like the government's attacking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I agree with the sentiment completely of this.
Yeah. Oh, you can't scroll on Zoom. Let me open it. Is there like specific language that I could take out instead of adding something to it? Let me.
I think the language is good actually. I don't think it attacks them for like making. I don't think it attacks them for anything that they didn't do wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good there. It's just sort of like it's just an affirmation that like a free press has the right to make the decisions it would like, but it also must like treat all candidates and like make determinations based on like unbiased notions, if that makes sense. I don't know how.
Isabel, what about in the last? Okay, and this is just a suggestion on the first page, the third paragraph, where it says such rhetoric has been used in previous non-endorsements of candidates who have worked in community-based activism. What if we just added, Brandon, I want to know what you think of this. What if like, this is just a suggestion where we were like, while the Daily Bruin has the right to give endorsements or non-endorsements, comma, such rhetoric has been such, like maybe we can even add like problematic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fine right there. I like that idea.
Brandon,
so can you write it in just because I'm better visually than like audio?
to issue.
Wait, so is this in response to the Daily Bruin endorsements that came out this weekend?
That was what fueled the action, but if you go through the resolution from the entire school year and beyond. So, like I mentioned earlier, like this is a product of like dialogue that I have been having with the Transfer Leadership Coalition about how transfers are represented in the Daily Bruin. But after the events of this weekend, we thought that that was just a gross, like disrespect of a transfer student's work. And so that's what spurred us to actually write a resolution. Because in the past, a lot of the ways that transfer students have been represented, it's very much like soft disrespect and like just casual narratives that a lot of students already believe about transfer students. So it's difficult to make like a very hard-hitting resolution. But after the very obvious disrespect of transfer work over the past weekend, it became a lot easier to write like a very pointed resolution about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really encourage you to read the resolution and go through everything that we cited.
Was Justin Suarez a transfer?
He's not, but he's engaging in work outside the institution, which in that paragraph I mentioned how a lot of times transfer students don't have access to the institutions of power, which is why a lot of times our work is disrespected. And so those two things do go hand in hand.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? If not, clutch your Kim. Oh, okay, Orion.
Yes, I think this is good. I agree with this. Another thing to note is that I think that council as well, we should hold ourselves to high standards as well in terms of respect, and I'm willing to sign on to this.
Okay, thank you, Orion. Other questions or comments?
Motion to endorse the, sorry, let me read the name. A resolution regarding the Daily Bruin editorial board's disrespectful rhetoric regarding transfer students.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think Millen again. All in favor? Please keep your hands up, by the way, for my sake. 1. Okay, please lower your hands. I don't think there's any against or abstaining. So by a motion of 12-0, the motion passes, and a resolution regarding the Daily Bruin editorial board's disrespectful rhetoric regarding transfer students is endorsed by USAC. And thank you. Jessica, you have this document, so you're able to access it and upload it. Jessica?
Sorry, yes, I'm dropping the link in our SGS Slack right now. So yeah, we're
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Isabel, for your leadership on this. Next up on our agenda is, where are we? Sorry. A discussion item, academic working group. Hi, Naomi. Thank you again for working so hard on this.
Yeah, so I kind of just wanted to bring up, there was a concern that I got earlier today about, well, from a PLF, the PLF from the physics, well, a PLF from AAP, but they're physics PLF, and they were telling me about two courses under two professors that they are currently PLFing for, who have had ridiculously hard midterms that are going to only be an hour long and have just been very I guess we can say like kind of assholey for lack of better words right now. And I'm seeing that this is coming up a lot. I've had quite a few people reach out to me. I know Brandon had brought up another concern, and I brought it up within the group chat that it might be best to move forward as council. I'm not sure if like outgoing council or incoming council, whoever it be, but I do think that right now, we talked about it that professors do have their academic freedom. Professors can conduct their class however, which way they want. But what was concerning to me was that there are other professors. There was another physics 1A professor who was allowing a 24-hour midterm to be taken. Then you have one professor who is in the PLF who's noting that this class is a lot harder than it's ever been for students, and he's PLF this class before. And I really wanted to kind of have an open dialogue about that and even bring up the possibility of having maybe another letter be written to specific, and this is where I would want your guys' feedback, whether it be like a general letter that students can use in specific instances or whether it be specific letters that we write in these instances that we can have and to have support students in this way as well. Because I do think that it's necessary to bring attention to some of the things that are happening and how some of the deans talked about it. Not like bully, like being a bully pulpit, but really encouraging professors to act with compassion in this time. And wanted to hear your all's thoughts about that. If anyone has any.
I think that would be a good idea. Do you think that the department would do anything?
Like, I mean, I don't think there's any certainties between of what the department will do. Technically, the department can't do anything about it really. I think it would be up to the professors, but I do think that if you were being addressed, I feel like as a professor, you would listen. I would hope that you would listen a little bit more. I'm just thinking that, I don't want to just tell students that there's nothing that we can do when, I mean, we've written letters in the past and we have convinced and moved, I would say, mountains in some instances. So that is the only reason I was thinking that we might be able to help in some way. And I'm not sure if that way will even help, but I do think it could at least support students' efforts in advocating for themselves.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good idea.
I think we should, just because even if like a professor doesn't listen, at least like we tried, but if we don't, nothing would happen otherwise. And I definitely think it's a lot of pressure, since if the department can't do anything, to address a professor specifically is kind of a lot of pressure in like a manner that's necessary, because physics is already not the most forgiving subject. And physics courses are hard. Physics professors are like difficult to deal with. So I definitely think we should on that account, just like personally knowing how hard that is.
Once again, I can't raise my hand, so I'm just trying to briefly chime in, and I see Mahika's hand. Naomi, is it possible to create like and I know we talked about this previously, like an outline or something where if this happens, I feel like is this what you're suggesting in terms of like an outline that can be sent to other professors too in the event? Because like I'm sure this one class or these two, instances aren't the only instances. So is it possible to like create something like that we can just send when these things happen or when even the future council too?
Yeah, that was kind of my question on whether or not it should be like a standard letter or whether or not we have like a rough skeleton of something that we can send, and we just like maybe when we like recount events like we usually do in our letters, maybe specify like whatever has happened and then maybe personalize it to whatever the situation is, but maybe having like a general like skeleton of the letter.
Yeah,
that was my thought, rather than having to, but then it brings up the question, would council have to pass the letter each time at a council meeting in order for us to be able to use it?
I really like the idea of a skeleton, and I think even the burden of passing it necessarily isn't a bad thing. Like I think it can just be something where when they're brought to us, it would be pretty simple for us to just pass them when they come. Okay, sorry. I see Mahika's hand and then Lily's hand.
Yeah, I just like definitely agree with everything that's been said, especially Kalechi's points, and then like the idea of a skeleton. I definitely think that like in terms of academic affairs, like USAC is an entity that like would sort of put pressure, if not like, because obviously like AAC and the academic senate, like that's where the real power lies, but definitely like since we represent a lot of students, like all students, I feel like that would be a good use of our like time and like ability to pass resolutions would be to like help students who are going through these like multiple unfair situations, and not just during like online classes. Maybe just like set a precedent for the future. I think that would be really good. So I'm definitely in favor of like having some sort of template that we start, and then hopefully like next year's council continues with, and like things like that.
Okay, I see Lily's hand.
Yeah, also, I just want to start by saying sorry. I walked out to go to the bathroom. So if I say anything like ignorant or something that's already been said, please stop me. But I definitely agree with the skeleton. I'm in the group chat for the committee, and I think the skeleton could be very beneficial. And even outlining instances that have happened, because some professors have several allegations or instances against them. So even saying like instance 1, instance 2, instance 3, but still being able to keep that anonymous to protect the student, I think that could be very beneficial.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay. The only reason I also had asked too, so I'm glad we can do that, and I'm pretty sure that we can do it through the committee. If anybody else wants to join our little subcommittee, that would be great. But I did want to ask on whether or not it would be okay. Like we would obviously show it in the council group chat, but if it would be possible to just conduct it through there, because I do think that this midterm is happening, I think before the next council meeting, and I would want something written. I'm going to clarify with the student, but I would want something written before the next council meeting, and possibly be able to use it.
So
Is
are
that
you sorry?
okay?
You're asking for help? I definitely yeah. Sorry, Brandon.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good.
Naomi, if you want, maybe we write up like a draft of something that can be used across departments.
Yeah, I mean, we can, basically the skeleton then.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to join our committee, I think all of us would love to have you. But I think we can go ahead and do that at some point then, so the next council has something to go off of.
Yeah, we can approve these this week. Lily?
I think what Naomi was asking is that the letter needs to be approved prior to council because it's relating to a specific midterm that's occurring before council. So would it be possible for the subcommittee to pass the letter on through the USAC group me, the official USAC group me, and we vote on it there instead of having to wait until council? Because then it will be kind of a moot point.
So it technically can't be a vote, but we can do what we normally do, which is just all sign off of it.
Okay.
Which essentially does the same thing. Sorry, Kalechi, I saw that you unmuted yourself too.
Oh no, it was just to say, like, couldn't we just go about it the same way that we do with other things when we determine them via like the group meet?
Yeah. Okay.
Period.
Great. Do you feel good, Naomi? Does that like?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's and so we can talk about that within the subcommittee as well, and then just let me know if y'all want to come in.
Thank you, Naomi, for continuing your work on this. I know we all appreciate it. Okay. Discussion item, CARES Act. Thank you, Millen, for doing all your hard work with this. I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, yeah. So I can just kind of go over like what the process has been these past 2 weeks that I've been in meetings with administration on this. But basically, I brought this up at like previous council meeting. But the university was given $36 million in federal funding from like the national government to help with student aid, to help with financial insecurity for both the university and students. So the government gave regulations that at a minimum, $17.9 million of this fund has to go back to student aid. So 50% at a minimum has to go back to student aid. And we've just been discussing in all of our meetings, like the correct way to distribute it, the correct way to make it accessible, to make sure that students know about it. What we've decided is that students will receive a $200 universal payment. And that'll be for all students. So the CARES Act has regulations that say it's only for US citizens, but what the university is going to do is they're opening up a separate fund from university funding for all those that wouldn't receive it under CARES Act. So international students, DACA students, et cetera, would also receive the $200 universal payment. It goes for grad students as well. So it's for, all UCLA students. It's not for UCLA extension students though, and it's not for students who aren't enrolled in spring quarter 2020. So if they graduated winter, it's not for them. If they start in fall, it's not for them. Only for spring quarter 2020. So yeah, there's going to be the $200 universal payment for all students. And then after that, there is I think it's $10 million. I might be incorrect with that number, but it's around that for need-based funding. So that means that if students are FAFSA eligible, they have their FAFSA numbers on record, then it'll automatically go back to their financial aid packages. If there's students that aren't FAFSA eligible or they don't have those numbers on record, then there is a separate form for them that will be on My UCLA where they just have to enter in like those sort of logistical numbers. So the need-based funding is also open to all students, international, DACA, et cetera. The university will also open a separate fund for the needs-based for those who aren't eligible in CARES. But basically all students will receive the universal, and then all students are it's available for them to receive the needs-based funding. Even if students are already FAFSA eligible, they have the opportunity to appeal their FAFSA if their circumstances have changed financially. So that'll also appear on My UCLA. But basically what the university is planning on doing is they're going to send out a Bruin post, and it's just going to very clearly, simply list that students are receiving a universal payment of $200, that there's need-based funding that's available, and then that every student has to click this link, and it takes you to My UCLA, and they have to confirm their universal payment as well as answer the few questions it asks about updating your FAFSA eligibility or updating your just financial circumstance. Does that all make sense? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I see Jonathan's hand and then Naomi's hand.
Okay, I might have missed some things, so maybe I can clear it up as we go along.
Yes, hi, hello. My question was, you said for students that are not enrolled spring, right? Would that mean, I know multiple students that declared non-attendance this quarter because of this situation? Are they not eligible?
I don't think that they would be eligible. I can clear that up and make sure, but I think that I'm assuming that if you declare non-attendance, you get partial refund, right? Or you get.
I would assume so.
I think so. Yeah, that's why they would. I think that's why they would declare it. So yeah, I think it's only for students that are paying tuition still for this quarter.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi?
Yeah. I just had a clarifying question, and then I had one after. You said that so all students who are on need-based, or you said there's a need-based option. Does that mean every student who currently has financial aid and, for example, receives a Pell Grant would be receiving additional funding as well?
Yeah, so there's a whole process that the financial aid office has, but basically if you're FAFSA eligible, then they said that with their sort of algorithm and their analysis, they will determine a way to distribute that money to financial aid packages, meaning that anyone who receives financial aid already from the university will most likely have an increase to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. But then students that maybe their circumstances have changed for the worse. That's why there's that application for all students to fill out if they want to appeal and change their circumstances, like saying that, you know, the parents lost their job, they lost their job, certain things like that, that could help them get more money.
Okay. And then my other question was, how did the university calculate the $200? And I feel like that's going to be important to answer because I read somewhere that all Berkeley students are getting 1,200. So I feel like I see outrage coming soon.
Yeah, so something that I stressed was they were originally just going to do 100. They asked me and Letty, who is the GSA rep, if that was sufficient, and I said, like, not at all. I think 100 is very little. It's like very much so just like seed money, if anything. And it's so the minimum amount that they have to give back to students is 17.9 million. So with 100, they would give I can't really do math right now, but they would, like, 200 would be the amount that would be where need-based funding would still be available out of the 17.9, because I stressed that it was important for not all the money to go back to universal payment, because we want to make sure that those who need it the most get their need-based funding as well. So they put aside that $10 million and they increased it to 200. And now I think they're giving around 20 to 21 million out of the whole fund instead of 17.9. But if it was 300, then they would have to take out of the need-based funding. And we thought, Letty and I both agreed that it was important that there was that large fund for need-based funding as well. So I think that just making sure when we publicize it that $200 is the universal amount, but many, many students will get much more than that if they are in need of it. So yeah.
And then since my hand is up and I see nobody else's, I had a follow-up too. Where is the other millions going? I know we like talked about that a lot within that little meeting that we had.
So almost like every single meeting I've asked for that sort of transparency report. I feel like just my entire job these past few weeks has just been asking for like tuition and funding transparency reports from admin and not really receiving them. But they said that like Mick DeLuca gave me some explanation as to what the university needs that funding for, which is Ash Center, medical centers, and the fact that the UCs all agreed to not lay off any of their employees. So all their employees receive full salary still. And that's given the fact that, for example, on the Hill, the majority of students have left the Hill. So it's gone from making thousands of meals to making, you know, just like hundreds, even less than 100 meals a day. But they still have to pay full salary to all of their staff that, you know, is part of dining services, that is part of the facilities, that's part of all these things that aren't necessarily like the duties aren't really being, you know, performed because of that. So that was one example that he gave, which that would be like $1 million sort of expense for it. I did ask for, you know, just like bullet point list or some pie chart that shares what they're doing with that extra, I think it's 16 million on the administrative side. I think that we'll also receive that in some form from the tuition transparency that Robert and I worked on, where, you know, that when they show what the university is losing money for, it can show that they're using this CARES Act administrative funding for that. But in terms of like specifics, I don't have that yet, but we are like stressing for that. I think that's the next step. I just wanted to make sure that our priority was just making sure that this money gets back to students as fast as possible. And we did get them to increase it from 17.9 to around 21. But this next step will be making sure that they share, you know, the administrative side of funding.
Okay, I see John's hand, and I'm going to go back to me.
I think something that I want you to confirm for me is what the university means when they say that you're going to get funding regardless of immigration status. I think when I think about the issues that have been going around regarding non-DACA students since I've been here, is that a lot of these students don't get access to any type of financial aid through the state or federal government. And so like things like institutional grants, if they're eligible, then are there only types of funding? So I want to make sure that like if the university is committing to this, like that they are doing so like specifically non-DACA, non-AB 540 students are still being counted for this and like will be given grants.
Yeah, I'll definitely check with that. I think that like what they said was that they're going to open some sort of university funding, but I want to make sure that that university funding isn't limited either. So
yeah, feel free to
I'll
ask me any clarifying questions, like if you forget how to like phrase that and stuff, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Could you send me a text with the exact sort of wording for it, and I can just like repeat it to them.
Millen, one quick request I have too. Given, because I've also heard the same thing that Naomi's heard about payments being larger at other schools. If admin here is saying, you know, we need to pay for staff, we need to pay for infrastructure, those same problems exist at other UCs too. So it doesn't really add up in terms of why we're able to give significantly less to students than what is being given universally at other schools. So, and maybe you already know this, but if you could ask like why that's the case, or like why is it that like there's a significant amount going to students at other schools, especially when they face the same problems as us in terms of needing to pay staff since they're all under the UCs, and try to get some clarification. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'll ask that for sure. I brought up the fact that I think it's UC Riverside that gets $800 every student, but they just said that because they have less students and they're a smaller campus, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Naomi, what was the school that you said?
I said Berkeley, and I'd got a number of 1,200,
And
they
have-
I would say our
Are they doing
population size-
need-based?
I
think they are doing need-based.
Their population's the same as ours too.
They
Berkeley.
are doing need-based, or they're not?
I saw from the EVP at Berkeley that theirs is based on like your EFC and everything. So like some
Mhm.
students are getting like only 500 and others are getting 0, but like
Oh.
that's really, they're having issues with that because people with an EFC of 0 are not getting any money. So like they
So
have
it's not universal, or it's
I think it's just need based.
Yeah, I think what they told me is that our school is one of the only ones that's doing a combination of universal and need-based, which is the reason why the need-based, the universal seems smaller, but it's because other schools where we see those numbers, it's because they're receiving need-based funding. It's not like universal, but they're receiving thousands of dollars. I don't know about UCR. I think UCR gets $800 universal, but I think it's because they have a smaller population. So, but yeah,
Okay.
I'll bring up other schools and just clarify.
One last question is, and I think you brought this up last week, was could you look into if it's possible for people who want to donate their allotment back into the fund?
I
Yeah,
didn't
sorry.
bring, yes, sorry, I forgot that part. That's important. So one aspect that Letty and I actually created was having an opt-out system. So on that same form where it'll be like one form for all students that directs you to whichever population you're a part of. So let's say you're FAFSA eligible already, it'll direct you on MyUCLA to that form that's for FAFSA eligible already. If you're someone who falls under CARES Act eligibility, but you're not FAFSA registered yet, then it'll give you that form. And if you don't fall under CARES Act eligibility, it'll give you that form, okay? So that's that. And then on every single form, it'll have an option at the end that says, would you like to donate your $200 universal payment to a fellow Bruin? And then if they choose that, then it'll go back into the needs-based funding. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions?
But yeah, I would just say that when I think this Bruin post is supposed to get out by the end of this week. They're working on like the dialogue of it and like the wording of it to make sure that it's like all okay. But I think once it gets out, just make sure that like it's really, really publicized on all of our offices, on other organizations. I know the grad GSA is trying really hard to get like department heads to send it out to, because for grad students, they check like social media less, they're less engaged with just like, you know, the university online as well. So yeah, I would just say make sure, because I think that one last thing I forgot was that they are only going to leave up the form for, I think, till the end of May. And then once it closes, students don't have access to it anymore until like, unless they open up need-based funding in the summer. But students only have like these couple weeks to confirm their universal payment and their need-based funding. So just make sure that when it gets sent out, like a lot of students know about it.
Okay, thank you, Millen. And thank you again for really representing council on this. Anyone else? Any last questions for Millen? Okay, then we will move on. I believe the last thing is a personnel matter. So for this personnel matter, we are going to have to ask everyone except who is a voting council member, and then Josh, Dr. Geller, Fernando, Vong, Roy, just the admin reps. But even our representatives like Arsh or anyone else here, if there's TLC people here, need to leave for this personnel matter. So is there a motion?
Motion to go into executive session for a personnel matter.
I second.
Okay, can council members raise their hands? If they all in favor? Okay, keep them raised, please. Okay, by a motion of 13 to 0, the motion passes, and we will be entering Okay, and then Kim, are you able to announce on the USAC page / the IVP page that we're back and that USAC Live's on?
Sure.
Thank you, Kim. Okay.
Was that a
So it is, but I still have to announce what we did. So should I wait to do that, Kim, or are we good?
I'm on
Okay. Hear me. No, you're good. You're good. Okay. So we have exited executive session at what time is it? 9:47 Pacific time, and we have voted on one matter just to compensate someone for their labor. With that, is there anything else before we adjourn? Are people's hands up? Just I see Tara, Orion, and Kim have their hands up. Are you all okay? Are you all good?
Yeah, it was just I forgot to lower it.
Okay, then great. We will adjourn at 9:47 p.m. Nice and early today. Okay, yay.
The
Now we will do
recording has stopped.
good and welfare, and we can stay on this one.